going, guys? My name is Tavarish and I am in my shop. Behind me, you see that I have a lot of parts, actually a lot of spare parts, and I've been challenged by eBay Motors to find out exactly how much my spare parts that have just been sitting around in my shop are actually worth. And I want to see if my parts hoarding has actually paid off over the years. Now that I say it out loud, it sounds a lot sadder than I thought. So if you guys are new to my channel, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy it. And consider subscribing if these are the kinds of projects you like to see. Today's project is a bit of spring cleaning. It's summer. Summer cleaning. I have a lot of parts in my shop, and honestly, I'm tired of seeing them, and I wager that there's more money in parts than I'd know what to do with. First step is to see what the engines are worth. I have a bunch of engines at the back of my shop, and in real time, I'm gonna check the eBay Motors app to see how much everything is going for. I'm gonna write it down, and at the end, we're gonna see how much money I could have if I sold everything I have. Now, I really don't know how much any of this is worth, so my cameraman, who is also my body guy, Jack, how you doing, Jack?
I am good.
Jack is good. We have a lot of engines, don't we?
What, 13?
This is gonna be a long video. We've made this into a little bit of a cooking show where we've pre-planned some of this stuff, but we also didn't plan this very well because, as you can see, we have parts that are everywhere. Now, if I move this out, some of this is gonna be hard to see because there are literally parts everywhere, but that is a Honda K-Series with an all-wheel drive system. So if I go to eBay Motors and I search Honda K20 engine, just the engine alone, just a bone stock K20 with 136,000 miles is $3,000. Wow, that's more than I thought. So everything there cost me about $10,000, but that's because I had the all-wheel drive system, I had suspension, I had brakes, all that stuff. So I'll count that as 10 grand, even though I know that that actually is going for more. Now, this is a Lotus 910S engine. This is a 4-cylinder 2.2 that goes in a Lotus Esprit S4. The Lotus Esprit we're working on my second channel, Wrench Every Day. And this is a engine and gearbox and wiring. Now, when I got this thing, I was looking at how much these actually cost, and they were about $5,000 on eBay Motors, but I'm not gonna be greedy. I figure 5 grand is probably okay. Up here is a 3.6 liter VVT engine from a Dodge Charger. This is a V6 making around 300 horsepower, and it has an 8-speed automatic transmission behind it. Apparently, this engine is $3,875, but that is one with 41,000 miles. This has like 90,000 miles. So let's knock that back to 3 grand, considering that there's an automatic transmission attached to it and there's a wiring harness, and I know that this engine actually runs well. Okay. Whew. And we have the big boy here. This is a Hellcat Red Eye engine from a Dodge Challenger, which was then modified by the guys at Throttle. And I bought this because this is going in a car for eBay Motors at SEMA. Some of you know what it is. I'm not gonna let the cat out of the bag, but it's a minivan. It's going in a Pacifica Hellcat. I got this for the wonderful price of $30,000. It was a lot of money. These Hellcat engines are expensive, it turns out. So this is not only the engine, but it has the wiring harness, it has all the gauge cluster stuff, it has the transmission, the 8-speed heavy-duty transmission, that's actually right there, and it has some modifications. So this puts out around 1,100 horsepower, has some fuel mods, it has some pulley mods, and if I were to sell this, I wouldn't want any less than what I paid for it, so 30 grand right there. Okay, this is like a down payment on a house, just right here. Now we have the bulk of my engines here, and these are in various states of disrepair. This guy over here, he was in a little fire. This one's spicy. So this is a Ferrari F355 engine, and from what I can tell, it still is in time, and I believe the block and heads are okay, but everything else is a little crispy. But I know that on eBay Motors, just the block with the heads without any accessories is going for $20,852, and I can definitely clean this up to make it look like this one, and I know that I can have a compression test done and it'll pass with flying colors. So let's call this 20 grand. The transmission on its own is another $9,000. So in this right here, potentially another $30,000. Now I'm gonna knock a bit off of that because it was in a fire. So let's call this 25. We have a transmission from a McLaren 675 LT, a parts one that does not work, 4 parts only used, is $7,500, and a good used one with a little bit of miles on it is nearly $10,000. So I feel like we can split the difference on that because I know that it worked at one point until the crash. So I don't know if it works anymore. Let's call it 8. Then we have some more engines over here. And hopefully Jack doesn't trip over the other engines and stuff. Jack, are you okay?
You need to stop parts hoarding, because this is dangerous.
Not for me, it's not. We have a engine from a Ferrari F430, so it's a 4.3 liter V8 making around 400 and, let's call it 90 horsepower. And this one has a bad cylinder. A good used motor is $25,000, but I know that the block is usable on this. Maybe the heads, it needs a cylinder wall redone. Let's call it $10,000. We also have an Audi R8 engine with about 150,000 miles, and it has some cylinder scoring. But again, the block can be used for something, the heads can be used for something. I'm gonna call this 5 grand. These transmissions are all from different cars, and they're all from essentially pretty rare cars. Now, this is a custom transmission that was made for my SL55, and this is worthless. Nobody would buy this because it's only for one application, and that application is not gonna be used by me because I got another transmission for that car. So we're gonna just call this one a big fat 0. But this is a T56 for a Aston Martin V12 Vanquish, and this is a manual, one that you use to convert the car to manual, one that Aston Martin used to convert the car to manual, but this was in a fire. Fire is a pattern here in my shop. This still does work. Take my word for it, it works. I believe this one would be worth around $3,000. But since it's like this, let's call it 2 grand. This guy though, this is a transmission from a Lamborghini Murcielago, or Murcielago if you don't have one. That's not me talking. I think that's what Ed Bowling would say. Let's throw him under the bus. The E-Gear version, just the E-Gear with the automated stuff that you don't want because you definitely want the manual. That is $15,500. This is a good working manual transmission, but let's call this $10,000. Okay, now in front of me, I have a lot of different types of engines and also some similar engines. This is a 2JZ GE, a naturally aspirated engine from a Toyota Supra with a manual transmission. I happen to know that these things are going for around $1,000, and these came up a lot because you'd be able to buy this years and years ago for like 300 bucks. So this has tripled in value, but everything else has too, because there are trip hazards here. This guy is a 2JZ GTE. This is a turbo engine. This is a JDM turbo engine. And this has a big turbo from, I think, a school bus. It's probably a school bus. I know a lot of you probably think that you know how much these things cost because you're used to certain prices back in the day. These used to cost around $2,000 to $3,000. This is a $10,000 engine now. I don't know if that's a reality that I can accept, but hey, I have one and it's 10 grand, so if anyone wants it, $10,000. Now this is a 1JZ GTE. This is essentially very similar to the 2JZ, but this is a 2.5 liter. It still has its twin turbos on it. This was from my Lexus SC300. This is $4,000 now. And then we get to the big boy, which is the Lamborghini V12 from a Murcielago. And this thing, just as it sits right now, without its custom headers, it has some headers on it, this is $23,000. I don't have any plans for this. I don't have any cars I can put this in, but I knew that when I bought this for less than 23 grand, I knew that this was a good deal. So now it's just sitting here waiting for a car to go in. All in, I have quite a bit of money, but I still have one more engine left. Now this long boy is a Mazda 20B 3-rotor engine, and these are going for quite a lot of money, but that's not even the good part because it's mated to a Mendiola 5-speed sequential transmission. These things are about 12 grand, and this as it sits right now, I'm missing some accessories in the turbo, but they're actually over there. This is $15,000. So 15 plus 10, that's 25 grand just in engine and transmission alone. And I did a little napkin calculation, and I have $171,000 just in engines at the back of my shop, not doing anything. Jack, that's a lot of money. That's like, I could buy a house for that.
Can I have an engine?
No. We're using some engines for some things, but most of these things are just lying around, so I may just sell like all the engines that I have that I'm not doing anything with. It sort of makes sense, right? Because then I can have more money for activities. But now we are going to check out the parts, and I have a lot of parts. I have almost $200,000 in engines. I feel like the parts should be a little bit cheaper, but I have more of them, so I don't know. So this is actually 2 sets of big brake kits for a Charger or Challenger Hellcat, and we have both front and rear with the rotors and some other stuff down here for the Hellcat conversions. And each of these right now on eBay Motors is about $1,000 on the low end. We got something even cooler. Yeah, we got some more brakes, but these are for a R35 GTR, and these are some giant Alcon, some 6-piston calipers here, brand new in box with rotors, and this is an $8,000 kit. I have front and rear, so let's say for a quick sale, $5 grand. Then we have some brand new wheels that we never used. These are Hellcat replicas. Let's just round that up to $1 grand. Oh, we got more Ferrari stuff. Right here we have a Capristo exhaust, and I know this guy is probably worth somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000. I know some of it is a little bit burnt and a little bit, well, really burnt, but it still is okay. It still sounds good. So I'm gonna call that $2K. We have a front differential for a Murcielago, that's $2K. We have some miscellaneous stuff for a Supra. We have a manifold, we have a bunch of coil packs, coil pack conversions for LS coil packs. We have a individual throttle body setup for an E92 M3 for some reason. I don't know why I bought that, I just did. I thought it was cool. All of this stuff, all the miscellaneous stuff is probably another $2,000. I mean, we got an intercooler here. That's a water to air intercooler for the 20B. We have some McLaren parts. We have brand new brake rotors and stuff for a car I don't even own. This is for an 88 Civic. I've never had an 88 Civic. I don't know why this is on my shelf. Right here we have 2 turbos. These are OEM turbos from a Bentley Continental GT. They're actually in really good shape, and those are about $1 grand each, but I don't know if I'd let them go for that. I'd probably let them go for way less, so call that 1,500 bucks. Actually, let's call it $1 grand. 370Z transmission here, mated to what, well, it's gonna mate to a 2JZ. This is likely, this is around $3,000 in a setup. Aston Martin catalytic converters. So that's probably gonna be $1,000. OEM McLaren 675 downpipes. Those are not cheap. So those are $2,000. Now is the real fun, because it's just a mess. This is all mostly Lotus parts, Lotus Esprit parts. We have a cylinder head here that was redone, so that's $2 grand, because I know I paid that much for it. ECUs for a Bentley Continental GT, and there are 2 of them, and they match, and that's gonna be another $1,000. This guy is $1 grand. That is an Aston Martin DBS stock muffler. And it is in great shape. I just took it off of my car and I just put it there, so it's just gonna live there. That's where it lives now. It's never going back on my car. We have the OEM headlights for my S65 AMG. These are a pretty penny. I think they're like $1 grand each, and they all work perfectly fine. One has a little bit of a boo-boo on it, but if you know a body guy, Jack, can you fix that?
I don't know how to fix anything.
But underneath here, you'll see that we have a clutch, and then another clutch box, and then we have cylinder heads. This is all for the LS7 engine in the Corvette Z06 that I had for Car Trek. Except for the fact that you guys haven't seen that car in Car Trek, because that is for an upcoming Car Trek, and I think you're gonna be really excited about that. These cylinder heads are bone stock, and they do have an issue of the valves dropping out of them, but the valves haven't dropped out of this, and these are very good condition cylinder heads. They have about 50,000 miles on them. And I know on eBay Motors, these are selling for about $1,000 each. So that is $2,000 and a brand new clutch, which was about $1,000. But back here, that's where the numbers start adding up a lot, because all of this is for the Lamborghini Murcielago. We have a HVAC box. We have the carbon fiber air ducts, the air boxes. We have some LP640 taillights that are in really bad shape. We have a bunch of interior pieces. We have wiring harnesses. We have piping. We have electronics. And we have, if you come back here, we have the exhaust. So all of this is $20,000. And that's not counting these guys, which is a brake upgrade for the Mercy. This was $5,000. We have a bigger set of calipers in the front. We have brand new rotors. We have hubs. We have everything to upgrade the brakes on that 03, actually the two 03 Murcielagos that I have, and that's $5,000 right there. Take a look at what's in this box. This is a bunch of stuff for the Ferrari F355 engine. We have air boxes. We got wiring harnesses. We got intakes. We got a bunch of stuff that will make that engine run. And this all, if you bought it on eBay, would cost you around $5,000. And the last part I want to mention is over there, because we have a ton of parts just sitting on that car that we need to go through, and those are the body parts. Well, there are parts ranging from worthless to why would you put this in a pile of parts that's probably worth some money. Right here is the OEM roof from my 675 LT. This is not a carbon roof. This is not a roof scoop. This is just a regular aluminum roof, but it is in good condition and it can be put on another car. I don't know who would buy it though, but I can't imagine that this wouldn't be worth something like $1,000 just to essentially, you know, have as a piece of artwork, as a piece of YouTube history. Wow, there's a lot of scratches on this. We should have put this on, we should have put this somewhere.
I told you to cover it.
It's covered. Now back here is actually the JDM body kit for my right-hand drive Supra that I haven't announced yet. That is coming up on the channel, but we've done some interesting mods to that. It has front and rear bumper sections. We have this really big sort of carbon fiber dual layer wing, and all of this is like real JDM stuff. I believe this is like a real Riddix kit or something. This is worth some money to somebody. I don't know who, and this is definitely not my style, and it definitely needs some fiberglass repair work, but I feel like if I wanted to sell this fast, I could probably sell it for $1,000. And then we have some miscellaneous stuff here, like Mercedes heat shields, and we got, honestly, I don't know what's in here, and I am not going to find out. A lot of this is probably junk, so I'm not gonna count any of this, but we do have one last piece of the puzzle, and that is over there by the two-post lift, because we got even more parts over there, and I know I paid a pretty penny for those. Now back here is, well, everything that we were gonna use for my Lexus ISF to SC conversion to make an SCF on Wrench Every Day. This is brakes, an entire brake setup for a Lexus ISF, front and rear, and we also have headers and a bunch of other custom parts. The brakes and headers, they're about $2,000. But the last thing I want to point out, and there are a ton more parts here, but I feel like in miscellaneous parts, it's only gonna be a few grand. I mean, it might be more than I think, but we're not gonna count all that. What we are gonna count is this guy. So this is an OEM titanium exhaust from a McLaren 675 LT. This one is a little bit bendy, but it can be set straight. And I didn't want to get rid of it because it still looks and sounds good. And if you give it a little bit of love, like just in the center section over there, I think it can look and sound like OEM. And these usually go for $10,000. I think for this one, I can get two just as a parts project thing in case you have a McLaren. I think $2,000 is what that gives us. Okay, so now that we have gone through most of my parts, I can tell you what their values actually are according to eBay Motors. Now, my parts were worth $83,000, and that's just the ones that I showed you. I still have some more body parts, I still have some more mechanical parts, and that number will go up. But 83 plus 171, that's $254,000. That is $250,000 just in spare parts that I have in this place. Just to give you guys an example, that car to build for 2 years was less than that. So just in parts alone, I have a McLaren, and I need to, Jack, I mean, I need to sell these parts now, right? Because like that's an actual house. Like I can buy a house with that money.
You're gonna buy me a house with that money?
Jack is not going to work here anymore after this video. I'd really want to thank eBay Motors. Definitely go check out the eBay Motors app in the link in the video description below. I've been using eBay Motors this entire time because I got a wake-up call because now I have way more money, at least in parts, than I thought I did, and now I have to put everything I have on eBay Motors. Now, if you want to actually buy some of this stuff, let me know, because I'm going to be listing stuff for the foreseeable future. This is apparently is a very lucrative thing. But I'd like to thank all you guys for watching, and in the next episodes, we are going to be actually doing a bunch of work with these spare parts, putting them into projects, and I can't wait for you guys to see that. But until next time, it's me reminding you guys that in garages like this, you probably have more in parts than you think you do. And you should definitely use those parts to build your cars better, and for that, you should always wrench every day. Thanks for watching. All right, seriously, we gotta sell this stuff. We gotta like sell this stuff, right?
Yeah, let's get it done.
Please.
More cars we can add to it if we sell that.
Yeah, I'm not buying you a house though.
Please?